Hello everybody, welcome to Snyder's Inc. We got more Mr. Ballin for you. And yeah, this one is Top 3 Stories That Sound Fake But 100% Real, Part 10. I'll get right into this. Hit the like button, hit subscribe button for me and for Mr. Ballin here. He is almost at, let's get him to 7 million subscribers. I think we can do it. The link to the original video will be in the description below. Are you guys ready? Of course you're ready. Let's go. And
Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction, and today we're going to look at 3 stories that demonstrate that. But before we get into those stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you come to the right channel because that's all we do, and we upload 3 or 4 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please secretly use the like button's toothbrush to clean a dog's teeth, and then just put the brush back. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Alright, let's get into today's stories. In 1956, the SS Andrea Doria, which was a beautiful ocean liner, was considered to be Italy's largest, fastest, and safest ship. But
oh, no ship is safe. Let me tell you about that. That is a beautiful looking ship, though. That is beautiful.
those things would not be what this ship was remembered for. On July 25th,
Well, that's not good.
of that year, the ship was sailing towards the east coast of the United States when it ran into some very heavy fog. And so, following procedure, the captain slowed the vessel down and turned on their fog whistle. A little while later, another vessel, the Swedish ocean liner called the SS Stockholm, entered the fog as well, but they were unaware of Andrea Doria's position. Now, both vessels were using radar, but unfortunately, both vessels misinterpreted what they were seeing, and so neither of them communicated with the other as they careened towards each other. When visual contact was finally made between the two ships, it was too late, a collision was imminent. At 11:10 p.m. that night, the bow of the Stockholm plowed directly into the side of the Andrea Doria, penetrating over 40 feet inside the ship before coming back out again. The impact killed 4.
God damn. 2 ships for some reason just couldn't figure each other out, and they just collided right through them. Killed how many?
46 people on the.
Okay, 46. I don't know how many were on the ship, so I don't know if that's a big that thing. I mean, condolences for all 46 of those people, though. Like, obviously they didn't deserve that. That should not have happened. But, you know, it's like, unfortunately, 2 ships don't know what the heck was going on, apparently, and one had a fog whistle, but I guess it wasn't working, or at least it wasn't loud enough for the other ship to hear it.
The Andrea Doria, and 5 people on the Stockholm. When the story broke, every major news outlet around the world picked it up, including ABC News in the United States. And the news correspondent that they chose to cover this story was a man named Edward Morgan. And unbeknownst to his co-workers, his 14-year-old daughter, Linda Morgan, was on board the Andrea Doria. And just before he went on, he was informed that she was amongst the missing and presumed dead, and there was virtually
No, this guy. The guy they had do the reporting found out just before he went live that his daughter was one of the missing and presumed dead people in that ship. Oh my god, that would have messed my brain up so much. I would not have been able to do it. I would not have been able to do that at all.
nothing he could do but wait for more information. And so despite his incredible burden, Edward still went on the air and reported the story without ever losing his composure and without ever mentioning his daughter. But after he got off the air, another story began to develop about the crash. Apparently, a girl who was asleep in one of the rooms on the Andrea Doria that experienced a direct hit from the Stockholm woke up after the crash and didn't know where she was, and she began yelling out for her mother. Meanwhile, a man on board the Stockholm Stockholm heard the girl's cries, and he ran towards the front of the Stockholm, which is where he heard these cries coming from. And when he got up there, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Perched on the destroyed bow of the Stockholm was a bed, and on that bed was a relatively unhurt 14-year-old girl named Linda Morgan. It would turn out,
Oh my god, the daughter just survived. The daughter should not have survived, really. But she did. And she somehow survived. Oh my god, the dude, when he found must have been so goddamn happy. Oh my god.
when the Stockholm penetrated into the Andrea Doria, the bow of the Stockholm scooped the bed Linda Morgan was on up and kind of dragged her into the ship. And then when it retracted out of the Andrea Doria, it brought that bed and Linda Morgan with it. When Edward Morgan found out that his daughter was the so-called miracle girl, he was overcome with emotions, and he would go back on the air. And this time he would talk about his daughter and her incredible survival story. And he would also talk about how hard it was to deliver the news when it was about someone he loved. Linda would make a full physical recovery. She only suffered from a broken arm, but she would suffer enormously from survivor's guilt, as her stepfather and her half-sister were both killed in the crash.
What is survivor's guilt? Hold on. Is it like you feel... Survivor's guilt or survivor guilt or survivor's guilt, also called survivor syndrome or survivor syndrome, okay, or survivor's disorder, is a mental condition that occurs when a person believes they have done something wrong by surviving a traumatic or a tragic event when others could not. Oh, so my god, so this girl who survived because of the fact that her stepfather, and her half-sister did not survive. Somehow did not survive. She did. She feels guilty and feels like it's her fault. Or she could have, she's in the wrong for surviving when they didn't. Oh my god, that's gotta be mentally torturing. I couldn't imagine. Oh my god, I couldn't imagine.
On April 27th, 1997, a farmer in Indonesia was walking his livestock through a thick sugarcane field near his house when he tripped on something. After he regained his balance and looked down, he noticed a strange mound of dirt that seemed totally out of place. He wanted to dig it up just out of curiosity, but he wasn't on his property, so instead he walked back to the village and he told the village leader about this strange pile of dirt and suggested he see what's under it. So the village leader and some other men headed back out to the field. They find this dirt pile, and the first thing they do is they poke it with a stick. The stick went right into the pile. It was a soft pile of dirt, and when they pulled it out, this horrible stench filled the air that was coming out of this mound. Worried about what they might find underneath this pile, the men decide to leave it alone and go back to the village and tell authorities about it, and the authorities promptly tell them to go back out there and uncover this thing and tell them what they find. And so the village...
Wow. Well, these authorities really want to do their job, don't they? Listen, we found a bunch of stuff. We don't, the dirt pile, it has this bad stench. We feel like we shouldn't touch it. You should do your job. Well, what you should do is go unpile the dirt that you don't want to touch, and you're going to tell us what's under there so that we can do our job. We are authority, we are police, we are not allowed to go dig up random people's dirt, alright? But you random people can go to this random person's property and start burying the dirt, unbury the dirt. Because we told you to, so go do that. Authorities are idiots most times.
The village leader and some more men head back out to the field and they start digging. And pretty quickly their shovels strike something that's fairly soft inside of this mound. And so after delicately removing some more dirt, they discover a woman's face is looking right back at them. It appeared she'd been buried up to her neck, and then someone had just thrown dirt on top of her head. At this point, the authorities did come out and they were able to identify the body as belonging to a 21-year-old local woman named Dewey. After asking around the village about this girl, the police determined the last time anyone had seen her was 3 days earlier when she had left her house to run an errand. But after that, no one knew what happened to her. Just a few hours after Dewee's discovery, a 15-year-old rickshaw driver came to the police with additional information. He said 3 days earlier, on the evening of April 24th, so the same day that people had seen Dewey last, he said she had come to him to ask for a ride. And when she got into the rickshaw, he asked where she wanted to go, and she said she did not want to tell him specifically where she was going. Instead, she just wanted him to drive in a particular direction, and she would give him more information about how to get where she wanted to go as they got closer. And so this really intrigued the driver. And so after he began going in this direction, he turned to her again and said, can you tell me anything more about where we're going? This is really weird that you're not giving me any more information. And so finally, Dewey relented, and she told him she was going to see the shaman. A shaman, in simple terms, is someone who uses magic to cure the sick. The driver did think it was odd that this girl was going to see the shaman in the middle of the night and she was being so secretive about it, but after he dropped her off, he hadn't given it much thought until he found out she had died. The police approached the shaman, who was 45-year-old Ahmad Siraji, and they asked him if he had been with Dewey.
Oh, you look weird. Oh my god, you have big ass ears, bro. You have big ears, my man. I'm just saying, you got some big ears. You got some monkey ass ears going on with you.
On the night of April 24th. Initially, Siraji said no, he had not been with her and he had no idea what happened to her. But after police searched his house and found Dewey's belongings inside, Siraji said, okay, I've been lying and I have a confession to make. And he would very nonchalantly tell police that not only had he killed Dewey, he had also killed dozens of other women the same way and buried them in the sugarcane field. And so the police went out to the field and started looking around, and they found all these mounds of dirt all over the place, and under them were women buried up to their neck. After the excavation was all done, the police believed they found the bodies of 42 different women, but truthfully...
God damn! This shaman just a serial killer who just killed 42 women without a second thought. He didn't care at all. He had no remorse. This man is sick AF and has no care for anybody or anybody's life but his own, and he is messed up for doing so. This shaman's an evil bastard.
That was just a guess. They believed there could be more. During his trial, Siraji explained in detail why he did the things he did. He said back in 1986, so 11 years earlier, he had this vivid dream where his deceased father came to him and instructed him to drink the saliva of 70 women. And if he did that, he would become immortal. When Siraji woke up, he didn't chalk up this experience as just a strange dream. He believed he had just had a real interaction with the spirit of his dead father, and so he decided he would do as he was told. But his father didn't explain to him how he was going to extract the saliva from these 70 women. And so after thinking about it for a couple of days, Siraji decided the most efficient way to do it would be to just kill the women and then forcibly take their saliva. To find his victim,
this weird ass man says that he had a dream where his deceased father told him to drink the saliva of 70 women and he will become immortal. And for some reason, when this man woke up, he thought, yeah, I just had a conversation with my deceased father and I need to go do that and I need to go take 70 women's life. This dude is not right in the head at all.
Siraji began telling people in his village that he had supernatural powers, that he was able to grant women specifically everlasting beauty and riches. And many people believed it. And so as this rumor spread not only around his village, but to surrounding areas, lots of women heard about it and came to him and requested his services. He would tell them to come back later that night when it was totally dark and to not tell anyone where they were going. Once they arrived, they would come inside of Siraji's house and they would pay him a fee that was roughly equivalent to 300 US dollars. And then he would tell them he needed to perform a ritual to give them their beauty and their riches. And so they would leave his house, they would cut through a cemetery, and they would enter into that sugarcane field, and they would walk for a while until Siraji stopped them, and he would hand the woman a shovel, and he would tell her to dig a hole in the ground, and he would assure her this is part of the ritual. And so he would stand there as she dug the hole until it was about waist deep, and then he would tell her to get in the hole and put her hands by her side. If she was at all nervous, he would just reassure her again that this is all part of the ritual, that lots of people have done this before, that it's totally safe. And so she'd get...
I will give credit for the fact, because this is a small village, so it's easy to take advantage. And I'm trying to figure out how to say this next. There are a lot of women who will do anything because of their own mind to gain infinite beauty and all that. So, in a small village like that, women would believe that. So, it's probably very easy to manipulate them.
Get in the hole, she put her hands by her side. Siraji would take the shovel and he would fill the hole back in until she was completely immobilized. And then at this point, Siraji would pull out a cable, he would wrap it around their neck, and he would strangle them to death. And then once they were dead, he would pull their body out of the hole, and then he would forcibly extract their saliva. And then after that, he would take the shovel again and dig the hole a little bit deeper, and then he would put the body back inside the hole, making sure their head was still sticking out of the ground. And he would orient them so their face was looking towards his house, because he believed having these women constantly looking at him at all hours of the day gave him more power. He said as for Dewi, when she first came to his house and she had paid that fee, she was worried about leaving and going and doing this ritual. It scared her. And so Siraji told her to wait, and he went into the other room where his wife was, and he told her that, hey, I'm gonna go kill this girl and I need your help. I need you to calm her down. And his wife, who had no idea her husband was a mass murderer, just immediately went along with it. She came back into the room.
What? No, you've got to be effing kidding me. What? This guy's like, listen, I'm going to kill this woman. I need you to calm her down. And his wife's like, okay, I'll go calm her down. Okay, I'll go calm her down. Like, what? Is his wife stupid? Like, did he make a threat towards her? If he didn't make a threat towards his wife's just a stupid... Well, his wife's just stupid. I don't know if she's not all there, but she's definitely stupid. And accessory to murder now. I am baffled by that one. What the F?
Room, and she assured Dewi that everything was totally fine. They had done this before. It was all going to be perfectly safe. And she even said she would come with them to do this ritual. And so at this, Dewi was much more calm and she agreed to go. And so the trio left the house. They went through the cemetery, out to the field, and then only 2 people came back. Siraji was executed in 2008 by firing squad, and his wife was sentenced to life in prison.
Good. Good. Wife absolutely deserves that. Don't mess with Doug.
Around midnight on September 3rd, 1986, Doug Wells and his wife Kristen were pulling onto their street in western Montana when they noticed a camper parked in front of their house. Neither of them recognized the camper, and so when they pulled into their driveway, Doug got out and walked over and looked inside to see if anyone was in there. And there was a man sleeping in the front seat. Doug didn't wake him up. Instead, he went back to his wife. They talked about it, and they decided that this man must have just randomly parked in front of their house, and that most likely the next day he would leave. And
I can already assume they're going to choose not to do anything about it, which is stupid. If someone's in my damn property that I don't know, you're going to get out, you're going to wake up, get away from my property, and you drive the heck away, because if you don't, some bad stuff's going to happen to you.
So the couple went inside their house and they began getting ready for bed. At some point, Doug rounded up all the trash inside of the house and was going to bring it outside to put into the trash bin. And when he went outside, standing in his front lawn is the same guy who was just sleeping inside of the camper. And so Doug very cautiously goes down the front steps and he yells out to this guy and says, what are you doing here? And immediately the man put his hands up and said he meant no harm. He said his name was Wayne Nance and he actually worked with Doug's wife, Kristen, at the furniture store in town. Wayne went on to say that he happened to be driving down their street earlier that day and he spotted someone standing outside one of their windows looking in their house, and he knew it was Kristen's house, and he looked in their driveway and he saw that Kristen wasn't home and it looked like nobody was home. And so he decided he would just park out front and try to scare off this person and wait for Kristen to get back. But by the time Kristen got back, he had fallen asleep. Doug was totally caught off guard by this whole situation. The idea that there's this guy on his property.
Yeah, it's a weird story. My curiosity is, why are you there? Why are you just sitting on his lawn? Once you saw she was back, why didn't you just get in your car and leave? Were you gonna wait for them to come out so you can explain the story? What? There's sketchiness. He's sketchy.
Talking about another guy that was lurking around his property. And so he asked Wayne, did you see this guy again after that first time you saw him? And Wayne said no, he hadn't, but he didn't have a flashlight. And so maybe if Doug went in the house and got some flashlights, the two of them could walk the property and make sure nobody was there. Doug thanked him for the offer and said, okay, well, why don't you come in the house and I'll go look for those flashlights. And so Doug led the way inside of his house, and as soon as Wayne got in the house and shut the front door behind him, he pulled out a metal pipe he was hiding and smashed Doug over the back of the head.
What the hell is Wayne's goal here? What is your goal, Wayne, when you attack Doug? What is your goal? Is your goal the girl? Because this is a horrible way to go about getting a girl. I'm just saying. And I know bad ways about getting a girl, because there's a reason I'm single, so...
Doug turned around and Wayne hit him again over the face, and before long the two of them were struggling on the ground. Kristen, who was upstairs, heard the commotion and she came running down the stairs, and she sees at the bottom her husband, who's bleeding profusely from his head. He's covering himself up on the ground while Wayne, her co-worker, is standing over him, punching and kicking him. Before Kristen could do anything, Wayne noticed her up on the stairs and he drew a pistol and aimed it at her and told her to come down here and tie up your husband's arms and legs. Kristen, who's in shock, is just hoping this was just a robbery and that they would have their lives spared. And so she does as she's told. She walks down. Wayne throws her some cord. She ties up her husband's arms and legs. And then afterwards, Wayne leads Kristen back upstairs to the bedroom where he ties her up as well. After that, Wayne went back down to the main floor where Doug was still laying on the ground, and he grabbed Doug by the legs and he pulled him down the flight of stairs to the basement where he tied him up to a pole. And then he savagely beat him with the pipe before Wayne pulled out an 8-inch blade and plunged it directly into Doug's chest all the way in. And then when he pulled it out again, Doug slumped over. Wayne went...
This guy has the goal to take the lives of both of these people for no reason other than this man is clearly insane. This man's clearly not in the right state of mind, and this man clearly has some issues wrong with him. Because this is not normal at all.
Back upstairs all the way to the second floor to check on Kristen, and he saw she had managed to get partially out of her restraints and she was reaching for the landline, and so he jumped on top of her and managed to restrain her all over again. And then after he was confident in her restraints, he went back downstairs to make sure Doug was dead. When he got down there, he saw Doug was still slouched over in the same position he had left him, and so Wayne assumed Doug must be dead, and Wayne went back upstairs to assault Kristen. But Wayne was wrong. Doug wasn't dead. And after Wayne went upstairs that second time, Doug, despite his horrific head and chest injuries, managed to wriggle out of his restraints and then hobbled over to a workbench where he had a rifle laying out because Doug was actually a gunsmith. And so he took the rifle and he...
Oh, hell yeah. My man's a gunsmith. My boy Doug's a gunsmith. He's like, okay. He's got guns on standby. He knows what guns are. He's got a bunch of guns on standby. Wayne didn't have a chance.
He loaded it with the one round he found on the table, and then he walked over to the base of the stairs, he raised his rifle, and he made his way up to the main floor. He didn't come in contact with Wayne, and he looked around the first floor, he didn't see him, and he heard his wife screaming upstairs. And so he made his way to the next set of stairs and began walking up with his rifle raised. At the top of the stairs to the second floor, there was a hallway that ran right and left out of sight. And And so as Doug is making his way up, he can hear off to the left, out of view, his wife screaming in the bedroom, and he can hear the sound of very heavy footsteps running down the hall towards the landing where he is. And so Doug positioned himself in the stairwell, he took aim about chest height with his rifle, and he waited for their attacker to show himself. And so as soon as Wayne came flying around the corner with his knife in his hand, Doug just fired one shot that struck him right in the stomach. Wayne fell backwards, totally shocked at what had just happened. He began to stagger, and Doug, meanwhile, turned his rifle around like a baseball bat because he didn't have any more rounds, and he just starts walking down the hall, smashing Wayne as Wayne continues to stumble and fall and try.
Hell yeah, my boy Doug is whooping Wayne's ass. God, he's like, you ain't taking my life. Oh no, you ain't taking my life there. No. Wait, you gonna, when you die, it's gonna be, you gonna die. You died at my hands. Not from a bullet's hands, you gonna die from my brutal beating hands.
Try to run away from Doug, and finally he gets away from Doug, charges into the bedroom where Kristen is, and he grabs his pistol and he turns around and he fires 3 shots towards the door where Doug is now standing. And Doug, he's unfazed. 1 round hits him in the leg, the other 2 miss. He doesn't care. He just walks up to Wayne and begins bashing his head in with the back of this rifle. He hits him so many times that the buttstock of the rifle explodes and the metal of the rifle bends like an L. And it's
hell yeah, my man. Violence personified. This man is violence personified. I love it.
At some point, Wayne drops the gun because he's getting viciously beaten on by Doug and his rifle. And Doug sees that, he grabs the pistol, and he fires the remaining rounds into Wayne's head. Police and paramedics.
This boy, wait, Doug was like, you'll die. Like, you ain't, just not, I don't want a single ounce of chance of you breathing again. You are gonna die at my hands. I would hate to be his wife, though. Like, that's a hell of a experience to see. Your damn husband going violent mode. Jesus Christ.
Medics would show up shortly thereafter, and Doug, Kristen, and their attacker Wayne were all rushed to the hospital. Doug and Kristen would make full recoveries. As for Wayne, he would die the following day from his injuries. After the incident, the police investigated Wayne Nance to see who this guy was, and they discovered that almost certainly he had been a serial killer that was connected to at least 6 cold case murders from 1974 to 1986. But because Wayne never confessed to any of these murders before he died, the true number of people he killed is still unknown. So that's gonna do it, guys. If you
well, yeah, he didn't confess. He just after the wrong boy. He went after the wrong dude, and Doug decided he wasn't gonna let him do it anymore. He decided that his time was up. Ladies and gentlemen, what a heck of an end to this reaction video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Need y'all to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment what you think down below. The link to the original video will be in the description below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all for the next one.